Hello, readers. Welcome to 20 Questions with Your Favorite Author, where we ask authors important questions like why would you agree to be on this podcast? I'm Kelly Lynn Colby, Editorial Director at Cursed Dragon Ship Publishing. Today, we have as our guest D.L. Young, spec fic writer and lifelong science fiction fan. His intense, fast-paced novels echo his many influences from books and movies, including Star Wars and Mad Max films, Dude, Blade Runner, Star Trek, and William Gibson. He's a Pushcart Prize nominee and winner of the Independent Press Award. If it's not your favorite now, he will be after. Hey, David, how are you today?
Hello, hello. I'm very glad to be here. Doing great.
Nice. There was too much fun to read. I missed the last part that says that you are also much less serious than your author photo implies.
Much less serious. This is very true. This is very true.
It's very true. I think that's funny that you had to put that in. Like, did people say, man, he looks really serious in here, so you had to it?
Yeah, I mean, if you just looked at that author picture, you would say, oh, yeah, he's a horror writer. No, not a horror writer. Just a very dark, black and white, serious picture.
Well, you do write pretty gritty stuff, though, right? So you have your, I looked at the Cyberpunk City.
Yep.
That very nice, by the way. I love having the box set, so you could just like grab it all and be done. So the Cyberpunk City is pretty darn gritty. So for those unfamiliar, what characterizes this genre of cyberpunk?
Cyberpunk? Well, I mean, I think when you think about kind of the classic cyberpunk, you think of movies like Blade Runner, or kind of more recently, from the 80s. You think of the novel Neuromancer by William Gibson or Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. These are the books that kind of, the books and stories that envisioned a future that where pretty much multinational corporations have taken over entire economies, and they're kind of the de facto power, more powerful than state entities, that type of thing. High-tech, low culture is kind of the phrase that is often used to describe cyberpunk. Very densely populated megacities, that type of thing. If you think of the movie Blade Runner, it really does visualize perfectly kind of the cyberpunk world, where you have a lot of high-tech stuff, a lot of street tech, and the narrative voice also echoes back a lot to kind of the earliest 20th century noir novels, where you have kind of a jaded, sometimes amoral protagonist, that type of thing. So those are the elements I think of when I think of cyberpunk, and hacking too, computer hacking.
Well, I laugh because all the gritty stuff, but you also list Star Trek as a big influence, which I totally agree. But my favorite thing about Star Trek is its like positive outlook.
Yes.
Those covers, they look very Star Trek-y to me. Like they have the bright colors and like the neon lights and the.
Yeah.
Who designed your covers?
Which series? I had different authors for each series. It's funny. My first series, which was a kind of post-apocalyptic Mad Max set in Texas type trilogy. An Argentinian artist who I found, I think on ArtStation maybe, loved his work, thought it looked really cool, and I said, I want these book covers to look like something out of Mad Max, just crazy wild vehicles, that type of thing. And boy, he delivered. And they look great. And then the cyberpunk books, I found another Argentinian artist, just coincidentally, who was based out of London, and he had done some artwork that was kind of cyberpunk themed. I thought it looked great. I talked to him about the books. He was interested in doing it. I don't think he had done any book covers before. He was more a concept artist for major kind of gaming corporations and things like that. But he did a really wonderful job. And if you look at my covers for those two series, they do have kind of a comic book type of illustrated style to them, which I like a lot. It's occasionally been problematic because occasionally I'll read a review where the reader says, I thought this was a graphic novel when I bought it, and it turned out to be a novel, but I liked it, So, but yeah, I found these artists. I just looked in various places where the artists hang out and they show their portfolios, reached out to them. And I was lucky enough to find some that did some really, really beautiful original art for me. So yeah, they were great. And then my new space opera series that's going to be coming out soon, uh, found another great artist who specializes in spaceships and zooming through the cosmos and cool looking planets and stuff like that. So I do take my covers very, very, very seriously. I think it's important. And I've been very lucky to work with some great artists.
That's really cool. Well, the so you have complete control of them, right? Because you are independent publisher.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you like about being an independent author?
Um, the independence of it. The I like the autonomy of it. I like being able to kind of control the marketing and the advertising and who I'm working with and that kind of thing. Now that can, those are all pros that sometimes can be cons, right? Because whereas my friends that are with major publishers uh, spend all of their time writing and they let their agent worry about this and they let the publisher worry about that and they just spend, the majority of their time creating. I can only spend a certain amount of my time creating, as you probably are aware. Um, and the business side of it, the marketing, the working with people, and all of those aspects, the operational aspects, the managing your LLC, and all those sorts of things come into it, and they do take a lot of time away from the creation. But I have a master's in business, and I worked in corporate America for a long time, so that's kind of stuff isn't completely alien to me. So for me right now, being independent is kind of the best fit. I do kind of like the autonomy of it. I like being able to control the quality um, of the work, the quality of the covers, and that sort of thing.
Well, you must be doing something right. Congratulations on your Pushcart Prize nomination.
Thank you.
Nicely done. What story was honored?
This was quite a while ago, before I had even published my first novel. I had done. I wrote a story that was kind of a mixed media story, where it was a person who was based on Mars, and he was exchanging um, messages with his sister, who was going through a very rough time back on Earth. And part of the story was written. They were the messages the sister was sending, and then when the brother was answering her, those parts of the story were actually videos that were embedded in the web page of this online publication. And my brother is an actor, and so I did the script, and my brother was actually played the part of the brother in the story. So it was like you would read part of it, and then you'd come to a certain point, and then you'd click on the video, and you'd see the reply message, and then you'd read a part of it. And so it was a mixed media. It was just kind of an experiment. I don't know how many people ever saw it, but the person at the publication really loved it. And a few months later, she said, "Hey, I chose your story as our the Pushcart Prize nominee for our publication this year," and I was extremely pleased.
That's so cool.
So you never know when you do really experimental, odd stuff. You never know what's going to come out of it. And so I got a nice resume bullet point out of it.
Right. Yeah, they're either like, what? Or they're like, cool. You never know. You never know. Might as well do it. Let's see. We met at Houston Writers Convention, and honestly, I don't remember which one. It's been so long ago.
Might have been Write Fest or Comic Palooza, maybe one of those. I don't know.
I think it was Write Fest because I
Could be.
walls in the building. I think that's because they had it in the art building, right? So, because
Yes.
don't touch the walls because they had to stay pristine white because they put art on it, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, woo, different world. I mean, we're all artists, but definitely different mediums. So I think you're right. I think that is where it was. What's been the most useful thing you've learned at a convention?
Oh. Wow. Wow. Most useful thing I've learned. What's funny is, and I'm not going to say any one specific thing, but what I will tell you is the most interesting experiences I've had and the things that have kind of got my synapses firing and thinking about new things always tend to be unplanned events. Like if I have a spare hour where I'm not on a panel or I'm not selling my books or whatever, and I'll just drop into a panel on a topic I know nothing about. I always will just learn something new, and it's just brand new information. And those are the types of experiences I really love, when you just you're there, and just out of nowhere you see these people you might not have sat down to listen to any other time, or chosen them on a list of panel topics. But because you were there, you just sat down and you were pleasantly surprised, and you learned something new about space exploration or space junk, up in orbit, that type of thing, or
Holy moly.
heavy metal. One time at Wright Fest, there was a panel on um, how heavy metal influenced my fiction. And I'm not a heavy metal guy, so this is a panel I never would have gone to in a million years.
Sick, not like lead.
Yes, how heavy metal music. Yes, not
Just wanted
not not steel and iron heavy metal, that sort of thing. No, actual heavy metal music. Um, but I'm not a big heavy metal person, and so I never probably would have walked in on that panel on my own. But a couple of my friends were on it. I went, and I learned so much. I learned about a few new bands that I came to love quite a bit. So it's those kind of experiences, the kind of unexpected experiences that I really take away as valuable ones from.
I mean, you're there anyways, right? Might as well
Exactly.
some time off. Let's go do.
True.
Yeah, that's clever. I like that answer. So we tend to meet a lot of our writer idols at conventions, right? I've met some of my favorite authors at conventions. If you could work with one of your idols on a project, who would it be?
Living or dead?
Let's try living.
Okay.
Writer, but
Oh gosh.
I was thinking Kevin J. Anderson wrote with Neil Peart, though technically Neil Peart was also a writer, but we don't think.
Yeah.
We think of it.
Yeah.
Because he is the.
Yeah, exactly. I actually just downloaded his book on his motorcycle travels, which I found fairly interesting.
Oh, he's like, like every part he kept telling me. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Cool. Good recommendation. I look forward to that. Let's see if I could collaborate with anybody. Oh my God, it would just have to be William Gibson. He's probably my favorite. I don't think I'd get any work done because I'd be in complete awe the whole time. But that would be really, really cool. I think he's done so much. I liked his work. William Gibson's work really actually brought me back into science fiction in my early 20s. I didn't read it when it first came out. I didn't read his Sprawl trilogy when it first came out in the mid 80s. I probably read it sometime in the late 80s, and I was an English major as an undergrad, and I had kind of wandered away from science fiction a little bit because I was a literary guy now, right? And so I was all about Kurt Vonnegut and.
Right.
Yes, I was reading Kurt Vonnegut and Charles Bukowski and smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee and all that. So,
noir.
there you go. And well, for me, the kind of the classic science fiction I grew up on as a kid, Asimov and a lot of those writers. When you learn more about literary and literary technique, you kind of love them a little bit less because, they were stylistically challenged, I think is probably the nice way to put it. But wonderful ideas, wonderful stories, but you would never look at them as great examples of literary technique, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It just wasn't kind of their strong suit. And so for that period, I was really into literary technique. I kind of wandered away from science fiction. Then I found Neuromancer, and I was like, wow, you can tell a really cool speculative fiction story that's really interesting and really action-packed and really keeps you turning the pages. And you can do it with very, very strong literary voice. And that, to me, was what William Gibson did for me as a reader and a lover of science fiction. He really kind of brought me back into the genre. And then, of course, I explored more into the genre, and I discovered a lot of the writers of the new wave that I didn't really know about, the Harlan Ellison and J.G. Ballard and those types of guys whose work I really, really like a lot too. So there was a lot of experimental stuff going on in science fiction that I just hadn't been aware of. But when I came back, I kind of dug back and I found a lot of that stuff and really enjoyed it.
You're like,
So there's something for everybody in science fiction. There really is.
oh, there really is. No doubt. No doubt. You just have to find it. That's why we have all these authors on, so people will find what it is that they love.
Exactly.
Did you ever get to meet any of your author idols?
Let's see. Well, I mean, I've met Kevin J. Anderson a few times. He's a great contemporary author. I sat on a panel next to, oh my gosh, his name eludes me. He wrote the Thrawn books for Star Wars series. Timothy Zahn. I sat next to him. Super, super nice guy at a Star Wars panel. So that was fun. He appreciated my Blue Man Group joke about Thrawn, which I thought was really cool of him. Let's see. I got to hang out a couple times with Ken Liu, who's an awesome contemporary writer. Really nice guy as well. He's been to Houston a few times over in recent years. But the big, huge people, in the literary world, I haven't been lucky enough to meet a lot of those. But the ones I have met within the genre have just been really, really wonderful, without exception.
It's pretty nice, right?
It is. Oh, I guess Martha Wells is kind of a huge name now, right? It's like, with her Murderbot series. And it's funny because Martha and I crossed paths many times at Texas-based events. And, I knew her as someone who wrote these fantasy novels, and she wrote some science fiction too, and she wrote a Star Wars novel. And I remember when Murderbot first came out and we were talking about it, and we were talking about the release schedule that Tor was doing, and it was wonderful to see this friend of yours who's been writing for years and years and years and is a super talented writer, to watch her career just go like this with the Murderbot novels was, or I guess they're novellas. That was really, really wonderful to watch. So she's kind of a big name now, I guess, in science fiction. She's won just a ton of Hugos and Nebulas in recent years. So it's really cool to see her success and see somebody achieve those lofty heights.
It's pretty cool. It's like, you did it. You did it. That's awesome.
Yep.
If you could hang out with one of your characters, who would it be and where would you go?
Oh my God. So many of my characters are detestable. What is terrible to say, it's like, if I could hang out with any of them, let's see. I would probably hang out with the really, really rich characters, because they probably have the best time, and they have they have the best vacation homes and probably can go to the nicest restaurants and things like that. So most of the super rich characters in my books are fairly rotten. So I doubt, they'd make the Christmas card list, but I definitely want to hang out with the uber rich corporate baddies in my cyberpunk books.
Yeah, I have to say I'm disappointed. I thought you were going to take someone skating. Come on now.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
There you go.
You should totally, because you still skateboard, right?
I do. I haven't lately, but it was a summer activity I did with my daughter because she got into skateboarding, and she was actually pretty good. And I came to learn that within about a 15-minute drive of where I live is the second largest skateboard park in the world here in Houston. You probably are not even aware. You're even closer to it than I am. Yeah, it's North Houston Skateboard Park. It's awesome. And my daughter and I used to ride skateboards when I was much, much younger, during the when Reagan was president. And so, yeah, exactly. And So I got a board and I got her a board, and we went down to the skate park. We would go once a week right when it opened. So there's basically no one there. The only people there were old guys like me, just rolling around and having fun. And yeah, we had a blast. Now in the fall, it kind of tapered off a little bit because she got back into her sports, soccer and basketball and stuff like that. So we weren't able to make that drive over there lately, but we're determined to go back, and it's a lot of fun. But I take it easy. I can't handle the falls at my lofty age.
That I understand. Every time my daughter tries to get me on her horse, I'm like, you understand if I fall off, I stay down, right?
Yeah, it's a long way down.
Not getting back up. You are like bounce back and I'm mad at the horse and get on and go. I would just lay there.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel you. So very brave. Good for you. Out there still skateboarding. Let's see. That should totally be in your bio, by the way. I mean, come on, that's fun.
Yeah, I think skateboarding is probably my third midlife crisis. So, yeah.
How many midlives are you gonna have?
I started having them in my 40s, and I think skateboard is probably.
That's one of them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can feel it. So what project that's in progress or not started are you most excited about?
I'm working on a space opera trilogy right now, and it's really
Opera.
cool. It's really fun. I've kind of hopped around genres a little bit in my novels. My first trilogy was, like I said, like kind of a Mad Max post-apocalyptic story. And then my next series, which was 5 books long, was cyberpunk, which is a completely different genre. And now I'm going into space opera, which is a genre I've always loved ever since, I was a kid going to watch Star Wars in the movie theater.
Mm.
And that one's been just super fun to write because, you're really free to kind of create whatever kind of world, whatever kind of system of government and all those types of things that you'd like to. And it's just, I find it really fun. You've got different kinds of aliens and different languages and different customs and things like that. And it's just such a big canvas to paint on. It's really fun.
Yeah, I have to agree. I like that too. I have an idea running around in my head. I like that. I think it's like you said, right? Growing up on Star Trek, it's always in there, right? It's in my.
Yeah.
So that would be, for me, it was Star Trek, not Star Wars, but same kind of thing. I still have.
Mm-hmm. Well, see, I embrace both. I'm not one of those Star Wars versus Star Trek people. I love them both.
I appreciate them both, but Star Trek helped form me. So, right. So it's different, but that's of course because I would come home from school and sit down in front of the TV and Star Trek was on, not Star Wars. Right. So it's not
exactly.
It's an exposure thing.
Well, when I was a kid growing up in Dallas, Star Trek, the repeats of Star Trek were on right before dinner time. So I would watch it 5 days a week. And I've probably seen every episode. I don't know how many times.
Yeah, my mom.
What's your favorite episode? Original series favorite episode? What is it?
Favorite? Oh my gosh. Probably Mud's Women.
That's a good.
I Mud.
Okay.
Favorite. I just love that one. I love Chekhov dancing and Scotty being silly, and it made me so happy to actually see the magic of Star Trek, which isn't, the big speeches, Shatner gave. It's not the melodrama involved. It is the characters and how they get along and how they work together and their
Absolutely.
That is what I loved about Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that just embraces it. And when they mention the mud incident in the new movies, I cannot tell you how
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my mom says Muck Time is her favorite one. Yeah, that's a good one too.
Muck Time is a good one. City on the Edge of Forever is probably my favorite.
Oh my gosh, have you watched new Star Treks? Don't give anything.
Yeah.
Watch Discovery?
Oh, I don't have Discovery Plus.
Okay. No, it's not Discovery. It's on Paramount.
Oh, I don't have Paramount Plus. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, then I won't mention anything. Maybe off camera if people have watched, but it was very interesting that you mentioned that. Ugg likes the one with the evil spot.
God. Now you're making me want to get another streaming service.
We did it just for Discovery, and I must admit, for me, anyways, the beginning was a little rough. But it's as they're trying to find their own voice, right?
Of which one? They have a few series on there, don't they? They've got Picard on there, right? And isn't there's another one as well?
Discovery, and then there's a new one we have not watched yet. I can't remember the name of the new one because we haven't watched it yet.
Lower Decks is one of them.
Well, that's the cartoon one.
Yeah.
There's another one.
Isn't the new one also animated?
Nope. There's a kid one also. That's another one besides Lower Decks. There is another new one that is not animated. I can't remember.
They are working that franchise.
I'll take it, man. I'm going to eat it up. Just like Star Wars. I mean, we're eating that up too, right? We have Disney Plus, so we can watch all that stuff too.
We are.
Yes, but no, Discovery. I'm fully on Prodigy. Prodigy's the kid one.
That's right.
Also, It might be Strange New World. Safe. I think Strange New World's the one I'm thinking of. So Prodigy's the kid one. Lower Decks is the funny cartoon one, and then the new one I couldn't remember. So that's Strange New World. Welcome to Talking Star Trek on Twitter. My mom and I, we used to sit down and watch the beginning and see who could guess the name of the show first. So we would sit down. Okay, which one is this? Who could get it first?
Oh, I think at some point in my life, I could do it, probably within the first 60 seconds,
Fast, right? Totally with you.
And I remember discovering a lot of writers of that era, right? That was probably my first exposure to Harlan Ellison was Star Trek as a young person, and DC Fontana and a lot of great writers.
You ready for an Easter egg? I actually worked in Monsters, Movies, and Mayhem, one of the anthologies that I did for my master's in publishing. I actually got to work with David Garrard.
Very cool.
So that was cool. And he wrote Troubles.
With Tribbles, yeah.
Who don't know. But yeah, it was really cool to work with him. So he's actually got a story in there. But that was cool. My claim to fame, I've not physically met him yet. So that's still on the list. That would be cool.
I have.
That's right. I have a list of people I must meet. We must go to all conventions and meet them all. And like you said, so far, none of them have disappointed me. They've all been amazing people. So I think if you just go and shake hands, they're going to be amazing, right? It's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the great thing about Worldcon is that you see all these writers and they're just out there, among everyone, wandering through the books for sale and stuff like that. When I went to Worldcon in San Antonio, I hadn't even written my first novel yet. I had published a few short stories that I had sold a few short stories, that kind of thing. And, I'm in the dealer room, I'm kind of wandering around, and I almost bump into this short guy who looks, like he's wearing a chauffeur's hat. It was George R.R. Martin, right? And I was like, wow, I know that guy. And then just, literally within, a couple minutes, you're like, oh, that's Paolo Bacigalupi. And that's, yeah, it's really cool. And everybody was really cool. You just go up and say, hey, I love your work. And they'll stop and talk with you for a while. So if you've never been to a Worldcon, it's a really, really great experience. I think I've been to 3, and they've always been just wonderful experiences.
That's pretty cool. It's on my bucket list. One of these days.
Next one's in Chicago.
We laugh that my husband and I, part of the reason we started a publishing company is so we could go to more conventions. So this is a perfect excuse.
There you go.
So writing. We were talking about writing, I think. This is more fun anyways. When you sit down to write, what's the first thing you do? Think? Total.
I check my email and social media.
Don't be part of it.
Isn't that what all writers do? If we're talking process, I'm a big outliner. So, I outline, I have a pretty, not a super detailed outline, but I have like a 3-act structure outline I usually work to. And before I get started on a chapter, I'll kind of bulletize the things that are going to happen in that chapter before I get started. So, I do a lot of thinking about what's going to happen before I actually do the writing, and just note taking and within my outline. What is the software that I use for outlining? It's so good. The name escapes me now, but I'll think of it and I'll let you know. But there's some great outlining software out there um, that that sort of stuff really helps the thinking process for me. So yeah, a lot of outlining, a lot of bulletizing, a lot of checking my character spreadsheet to make sure I've got the right vibe for the scene from this character's point of view, that kind of thing.
Nice. That's a
planner.
Might help focus. Yeah, I'm a planner too, but sometimes when I sit down, it's hard to focus. That's actually a good idea to get some focus in. Just notes instead of stressing about getting the right word. Do you listen?
Plotter is the is the outlining software. Plottr. I have no financial arrangement with them, but it's if you like outlining, it really facilitates the outlining process, and it exports into Scrivener, which is really cool. And I'm a Scrivener user also.
Me too. I do love my Scrivener. Just in case I have to move stuff around, it's very handy.
It is.
And it's nice having all those notes down there. Sometimes I even put pictures in there. Like I have pictures, so I have
a
file. I really like Scrivener too.
And I do listen to music. I heard your question. I can't listen to anything that has lyrics because it distracts me. So I have Amazon Music, and I have channels that I like to listen to movie soundtracks. So I'll put it on. Well, I listen to composers. I'll put it on the James Horner channel, or I'll put it on the the guy who did Gladiator, Hans Zimmer. Yeah, I'll put it on the Hans Zimmer channel. Or there's a good one called the Dark Side of the Force, and it's all like the Sith music and stuff like that from Star Wars. It's all like it's yes. When you're writing the heavy stuff, it works. And then they have the Jedi side of the Force also music. So a lot of Star Wars music, just a lot of soundtracks. The Inception soundtrack is a great soundtrack to listen to for writing science fiction.
I think
love that one. It is Hans Zimmer.
Yep, that's a good one. I like John Powell when I'm writing my younger stuff. I really like John Powell.
There you go. Yeah.
Under Hans Zimmer, so it's not a big surprise.
There you go.
Nope. And
Hans Zimmer actually tours. He actually has these kind of shows that you can go and see him do his music, which I would love to do, but he scaled back his schedule with all the fun lockdown stuff we're living through right now.
Yeah. Not like he had a choice.
Exactly.
Did not have a choice. How long? Oh, here's our big one we ask all of our writers now is how long did it take you to write your first book?
9 months.
9?
Yeah. No, I know, because that was after I wrote it, I was like, I can't take this long to write a novel, and but I mean, it was a first novel, and that was only about I want to say about a 65,000 word novel. So was not a big doorstop or anything like that. But from the time I started the outline to the time it was done and dusted, I think was about 9 months. And so I've learned to be more efficient as time has moved along. But I remember thinking, gosh, I've got to try to be a little quicker than 9 months.
That's pretty awesome. You're like, I must get faster.
Well, at the time I was working full time, and so this was my crazy schedule. I could not find any, with 2 young kids that are, in sports, and at the time I was working, with a big team of people and working a lot of hours, that sort of thing. Had no time to write. So where do you find the time? Well, if you do any research on this and you look at writers and, the famous story by John Grisham and other people that had, demanding careers and still wrote novels, they basically got up at 4 a.m. every day. And so that's what I had to start doing, despite the fact that I've never, ever been a morning person. I said, well, if I ever want to write a novel, I'm just going to have to get my butt out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning. And that was super. And I would write from about 4 to 6:30, and then go to, get ready to go to work, whatever. And that was tough at first. It was really, really tough, but amazing. And it wasn't just the getting up part that was tough. It was being creative when you're barely awake. Yeah. I mean, it was all I could do to, read a complete sentence, much less write one. So, uh, but eventually, your body does kind of adjust. And what I found was, after a couple weeks of doing that, it was easier for me to wake up, and it was I would also get tired earlier. So I'd find myself, by 10 o'clock, I was done, right, and I could fall asleep a little earlier than I used to. So eventually it worked out, but I just had that very kind of discrete time, those that hour and a half or couple hours every morning, dedicated to nothing but writing 5 days a week, and eventually got it done. It was the only time I could carve out of my schedule to do it, and that's how I did it.
Interesting. Yeah, I asked, do authors ever write longhand anymore, or is it always computers?
I have a couple friends that have gone the longhand route. Now, personally, my handwriting is so messy, it's absolutely impossible for me to do anything like that. My handwriting is barely legible to me, so I can't imagine doing anything like that. My friends that actually will write stuff out longhand on a legal pad have impeccable handwriting, and so I understand why they would do that, and they're just more comfortable with it, and that's great. But just seems like a long way to do it for me. It seems like a big extra step. Now, a lot of people are dictating their books now, right?
Yep.
And that's interesting. I haven't really tried that, and I heard it's a bit of a learning curve, but once you get used to it,
Mhm.
people say you can actually write a little bit faster than you could just with a keyboard.
That's what I hear. I talk in circles, though. I'm not sure how it would work, but they said it just takes training. But I barely have time to get my writing done, let alone train. So if you
Yes.
let me know if you make it work. I know Neil Gaiman writes by hand still. He writes everything longhand.
Really?
So there's his books are doorstops. They're like garage doorstops, right? Like
He must use 500 legal pads for one of his books. That's amazing. That's amazing.
yeah. So there's definitely a few that still do it. I do a lot of my brainstorming longhand because it kind of works a different part of my brain.
Yeah. I've done that before. Yeah, I've done that before. That can be helpful.
Yep.
The physical act of writing sometimes prompts the creativity.
Right, and actually slows your brain down, right?
Exactly.
Fast as most of us can, so I can type really fast, so my brain's going fast and we're just like going at it. So if I need something and I'm lost somewhere, by writing it, it's slower. It actually slows my brain down and I can actually solve the problems that I'm having.
Mm-hmm.
So it helps for me.
Less circles.
Yep, but as we've said over and over again on this podcast, the only wrong way to write is to not do it.
Exactly.
Not writing is the only wrong thing. So just write whichever.
Well, that's a big deal for a lot of new writers. When people ask me for writing advice, a lot of people just beat the hell out of themselves before they even get started, because they'll write something and they'll think it's terrible, and probably is, because whenever you start anything, you're not particularly good at it, whether it's a sport or a new hobby or whatever. And you only get better by doing it. You only get better through repetition.
Yep.
I get better, I hope, with every book that I write. And reading is a huge part of it as well. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So yeah, it's funny. It's amazing to me how many new writers will just get stuck and get stuck all up in their head, thinking, if I can't write the perfect paragraph or the perfect chapter, I don't know why I want to go forward.
Yeah.
And they'll get stuck in their head so much that they just never get started. And it's like, just do something, anything, type, just type freehand or whatever, and you'll get better. You'll get better with time.
Yep.
Sure.
Exactly. Well, we have hit the lightning round. Lightning round. We still need a lightning round sound, like Ding! I don't know. I can't make a lightning sound. I'm not good at this, so I'm not sure. We'll find one eventually. We're totally professionals around here. Totally. Can't you tell, David? Totally professionals.
Totally tell.
Totally. All
Same here.
right. First, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip. Yummy. That sounds good. Can zombies climb?
Not very well. They can climb each other pretty well. They seem to have problems with fences, though, I've noticed.
Fences. You've noticed. I mean, this is Houston. Zombies walking around.
Confession, I just started watching The Walking Dead. I'm on like season 2, episode 3. I was never a big zombie guy, but I finally just started watching it because it's on Netflix, and I was like, okay, I'll watch it. I ran out of other series, to be honest. I was like, okay, I'll watch it, and I'm digging it. It's pretty fun. But yeah, the zombies, they're not, the best climbers, are they?
They're not, definitely not representative in there. Og's going to take that as a yes. It's very important. He's invested in that question. Do you prefer polos or button-ups?
Polos.
Polos. Who is your favorite band or musician?
Boy, I would have to say probably REM.
Oh, good call. Good call. I was disappointed in the new movie, what was it, Don't Look Up, that they didn't play End of the World as we know it.
Oh, yeah.
Totally should have done that. I mean,
awesome song.
Laugh so hard. They totally should have done that.
And one of my biggest regrets in life is that I never saw them live, because I blew them off a couple tours, and I said, they'll come back, and then they broke up, and I was like, no. And they're not the type of people that will ever do some kind of,
reunion.
Let's make a pile of money reunion tour type. They're just not those type of people, I don't think. So unfortunately, I never got to see them live. But they're awesome. They're the best.
Oh, I do like them. Cats or dogs?
When I was a kid, it was cats. Now I'm a dog guy.
Interesting. Change your character as you go along.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, David, you've been awesome. Where can fans find you and your work?
If you go to my website, dlyoungfiction.com, that's where you can find my work. And if you sign up for my newsletter, you will get 2 free books and an audio story. And these are 2 full books. They're not just little tiny books. It's 2 free ebooks and an audio story.
Excellent. All right. Now that D.L. Young is your new favorite author, please make sure to review his work. Also, you can review us wherever it is you get your podcasts. That is on, I got distracted by the chat. Do you see that? This happens. Yes, if you're listening to us, make sure to come live because it's way more fun. You're missing all the fun in chat. Anyways, you can follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/curseddragonship, or you can subscribe on YouTube, and that's curseddragonship.com/YouTube. And we will not be on next week because we will be in Colorado Springs at Superstars Writing Seminar, which any listener knows that we have heard it. We've been talking about it a lot. We will be up there, but we'll be back the week after that with a superstar author, Aaron Michael Ritchie, and we'll see you soon. Bye.